The Black Cat. You are not going to believe this story, but it's a true story as true as I seal air. Greeting is as true as I will dim the morning. Yes, this story with my aim with my dream tomorrow. I have always been a keen on loving first. Everyone told tell you this. They will also tell you that I have always loved animals more than anything. When I was a little boy, my family always and many different animals around the house. As I grew up, I spent most of my time with them, giving their first food and cleaning them. I morning when I was very young and I was happy to find that my wife loved all the of our animal friends as much as I did. She bought us the most beautiful animal without all sort of beer going finish a fine dog and a cat. The cat was a very large and beautiful animal. He was black, low all over, and very intelligent. He was too intelligent that my wife often him allow what some people live. Some people believe that I love cats are pure. Earnest a cat body. Pluto. This was the cat. None was my favorite. It was always I would give him his food, and the is following my everything. I often had to stop him for you win. The storm they struck for years. He won and I live happy. Lower than loss of freedom. But then those years I was long changing. It was then airing my of man called dream was changed my I was not your person people came before I grew more and more selfish. One was often shouldn't angry about an important thing being to use bad language. Much of all will my we I ever did her something. And you're going of coaching. I was often going. Howling did to all animals. I deal of them would never plot. But my answer was guaranteeing worthy of their dream is an ends. Some I begin to house my dance plot to
I remember trying night very good. I come home late for a drying unkind. I could not understand why Pluto was not pleased to see me. The guy was staying from me. My Pluto, did you know what to come near me? I because I hoped, howling and strolling. He was afraid of me, and by my heart. Suddenly, I was not myself and more. Some my heart is my body, some evil and might withdrawn. I took my knife from my pocket. Here is my poor animal, by my heels and cut out nail of ease. The next morning, my mind was up of a fine hour. When I hopped up, I was deeply sorry. I could more instead of cold search every time. But tries some helpers me to forget. Slow with cat, good bird. There was no only an ugly door hole where the ace of ways. It began to grow the cause out again. He never came near me now, of course, and to right away. Way went too close. I knew he did love animal. I first sad, then slowly I started to feel angry, and it is another terrible thing I had to do. I could not stop myself. I did it wear a terrible sandy in my heart because it never it was ever. And as to where it is, yes, I did because in evil. What should I do? I coughed, cat, and home. I beat his nerve for until he was dead. Some night I woke up suddenly. My bed was on fire. I heard people is sighing. Fire! Fire! Our house was burning. I my wife in a servant we looked to escape. We stood and watched as the house burned to the ground. There was nothing left after burning the next morning. All the walls fell down during the night, except one. I was in the middle of the house. I realized with this word during a burn, because there was no plaster on it. The plaster was still kid hit.
a tall black shape in the new white plaster. I was in the shape of layer craft, having by its nude. I looked on the shape with complete horror. 7 minutes passed, I could think clearly again. I now had to try to think clearly. I had to know why it was there. I remember I having the cat in the garden of the house next door. During the firing, the garden was full of people. Probably someone cut the dead cat from the tree and threw it at the window to try with me. The falling walls plastered animal's body into the fresh plaster. The cat bore completely leaving the black shade in the new plaster. Yes, I was sure that was what happened, but I could not forget that black shade for months. I even saw in my dreams. I began to feel sad about losing the animal, so I began to look for another one. I looking mostly in the poor parts, often weren't one drinking, and searched for another black cat on the same side at night at tight as Pluto. One night, as I sat in a dark and dirty drinking house, I noticed a black object of topper cover near some bottles of wine. I was surprised you were sweat. I looked at those bottles a few years ago. At those, I am sure that object was not there before. I got huffed. I went to see what it was. I put my hand touched it. I found that it was black cat, a very large one, as large as Pluto. He looked like Pluto too, in every way but one. Pluto did not have a wing anywhere on his body. This cat had a large white shade. His front. He rocked when I touched it, and pressing the side of his against my heart several times. He liked me. This was the animal I was looking for. He continued to be very friendly. I later, when he left, he followed me into the street. He came all the way home with me. We now had another house. Han came inside. He immediately jumped off the onto the most comfortable chair and they went to the sleep. He stayed with us, of course. He loved volleyball, and very soon he became my wife's favorite animals. Whereas the week passed, I began to dislike the animals the more and more. I do not know why, but I hating the way he clothed me. So I began to hating book wise I was never on the kinding. Yes, I was very careful about that. I kept away from him because I remember that I did to my poor Pluto.
I also hate the animal because he only had one eye. I noticed this morning after he came home with me. Of course, this only made my dear wife love him anymore. But the more I hate the cat, the more he seemed to love me. He followed me everywhere, getting under my feet all the time. When I sat down, he always sat under my chair. Often he tried to jump up on my knee. I wanted to murder him when he did this, but I didn't. I stopped myself because I remembered Pluto, but also because I was afraid of the animal. How can I explain this fear? It wasn't really a fear of something evil, but then how else can I possibly describe it? Slowly, this strange fear grew into horror. Yes, horror. If I tell you why, you will not believe me. You will think I'm mad. Several times my wife took the cat and showed me the white shape on my chest. She said the shape was slowly changing. For a long time I didn't believe her, but slowly, after many weeks, I began to see that she was right. The shape was changing, its size were becoming stranger and stranger. It was beginning to look more and more like an object. After a few more weeks, I saw what the shape was. It was impossible not to see. There on his front was the shape of an object I almost too afraid to name. It was that terrible machine of pain and death. Yes, the gallows. I no longer knew the meaning of happiness or rest. During the day, the animal never left me. At night, he woke me up nearly every hour. I remember waking from terrible dreams and feeling him sitting next to my face, his heavy body pressing down on my hair. I was now a very different man. There was not the smallest piece of good left in me. I now had only evil tooth, the darkest and the most evil tooth. I hate everyone and everything, my dear wife too. One day, she came down into the cellar with me to cut some wood, where we were now too poor to have a servant. Of course, the cat followed me down the stairs and nearly made me fall. This made me so hungry that I took the axe and tried to cut the animal in two. But as I brought the axe down, my wife stopped my arm with her hand. This made me even more hungry, and I pulled her hand away from my grasp. Lifting the tool again, drove it down hard and buried it in the top of her head. I had to hide the body. I knew I could not take it out of the house. The neighbors noticed everything. I thought of cutting it into pieces and burning it. I thought of burning into the floor of the cellar. I thought of throwing it into the river at the end of the garden. I thought of putting it into a wooden box and taking it off of the house that way. In the end, I decided to hide the body in one of the walls of the cellar. It was kind an old building near the river, so the walls of the cellar were quite wet and the plaster was soft. There was new plaster on one of the walls, and I knew that underneath it the wall was not very strong. I also knew that this wall was very thick. I could hide the body in the middle of it.
I was not difficult. I took off some plaster, took out a few stumps, and made a hole in the earth that filled up the middle of the wall. I put my wife there, put back the stumps, made some new plaster, and put it on the wall. Then I cleaned the floor and looked carefully around. Everything looked just as it did before. Nobody will ever know. Next, I went upstairs to kill the cat. The animal was bringing me bad luck. I had to kill it. I searched it everywhere, but I could not find him. I was sure it was because of my wife's murder. He was too clever to come near me now. I waited all evening, but I didn't see the evil animal. He did not come back during the night either. I saw for the first time in a long time. I slept well. When I woke up the next morning, I was surprised to see that the cat still was not there. 2 days passed, and there was still no cat. I cannot tell you how happy I began to feel. I felt so much better without the cat. Yes, it was he who brought me all my unhappiness. And now, without him, I began to feel like a free man again. It was wonderful. No more cat. Never again. Several people came and asked about my wife, but I answered their question easily. Then, on the fourth day, the police came. I was not worried when they searched the house. They asked me to come with them as they searched. They looked everywhere several times. Then they went down into the cellar. I went down with them, of course. I was not a bit afraid. I walked calmly up and down, washing the stairs. They found nothing, of course, and soon they were ready to go. I was so happy that I could not stop talking as they went up the stairs. I did not really know what I was saying. Yes, this is a well-built old house, isn't it? Yes, a very well-built old house. These walls, are you going, gentlemen? These walls are strong, aren't they? I knocked out hard on the part of the wall where my wife was. A voice came from inside the wall in answer to my knock. It was a cry like a child's. Quickly, it grew into a long scream of pain and horror. I saw the policemen standing on the stairs with their mouths open. Suddenly they ran down in a great hurry and began breaking down the wall. It fell quickly, and there was my wife, standing inside. There she was, with dried blood all over her head, looking at them. And there was the cat, standing on her head, his red mouth wide open in a scream, and his one gold eye shining like fire. The clever animal, my wife, was dead because of him, and now his evil voice was sending me to the gallows.